Hi there! Today we are making a box with air dry clay, and I'm really excited about this one, even though air dry clay is not my forte and the things I've made are not always the best. I still wanted to practice, and today is different because I am filming this intro after I made the thing for the first time. I usually do it the other way around. So I've already made the box, and it's not perfect, but the feeling of making something with clay, earth that you're gonna keep and use, it's amazing. So I really wanted to share with you, and maybe, well, hopefully, like that would be the best if I can inspire you to do the same, to create something. Now, to be honest, I first wanted to do this footage and make a box and everything to do a manifesting box because I really believe in the law of attraction and energy. I actually made a very intentional vision board for the first time this year, and I wanted to share that with you. But in the process of making it, it felt so great. There's like this connection. I don't know. That's what I wanted to share with you, regardless of the use for the box that you make. I think it's something worth doing. Before I show you, let me take a little time to give a shout out to Karen. Thank you so much. You've binged my content. You had so many kind words and comments and ideas. Thank you so much. I think after everything you saw so quickly, you probably know me better than a lot of my friends now. So thanks. Okay, I want to show you what I did and how I made it, and I hope this inspires you to create your own air dry clay trinket box. Okay, so obviously here is the air dry clay that I bought for this project, and I'm gonna open it and take a bunch out to start making my box. Now, because of my amazing editing skills, you can't really tell how hard this clay was and the struggle it was to get it soft enough to make a ball with. But after some water and a lot of kneading, I did it. I made a ball and rolled it flat with a glass. And as soon as I rolled it flat, I discovered that the clay stuck to my surface. It's funny how many times through this process I thought maybe I should have seen a video on how to do this first, but I didn't, and here I am doing my best on sticking my clay. So of course that first slab was not good. It was uneven, so I rolled it back into a ball and started over. I have seen people use sticks to make the clay roll out in the same width. So that's what I try to do with my two plastic clay tools. And it's not perfect, but they did the job. And this second piece is at least a little more even than it was before. I'm using my glass as a rolling pin, but also as a mold for my box. So after I rolled the clay with the glass, I used it to mark the circle for the bottom of the box and cut it out. I smoothed it out the best that I could with my fingers and water. Now it was time to roll out a bigger slab of clay to use for the walls of my box. I am creating a cylinder box just like the glass that I'm using. So again, I extended my clay as best as I could until it almost wrapped around the glass. And once I had it to the size I needed it, I smoothed it out with my fingers and some water again. Then, using a ruler and a straight edge, I cut it into this long rectangle to go around the box. I scored both the circle and the rectangle so I could put it together. And here again, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should have borrowed a rolling pin from my neighbor, and maybe I should have watched a video on how to properly do this. I scored the clay because, you know, we all have like a little idea on how you're supposed to do this, so I scored it to get the pieces to stick together, but it was very flimsy and I couldn't keep this cylinder shape. So my solution was to assemble it around my glass. This glass is such an incredible multi-purpose tool to me. With the glass holding the clay up, it was easier for me to join or merge the wall and the bottom. I was laughing through this process and I was just trying to do my best. Then I realized I hadn't cut a straight edge to close the walls together, so again, I'm thinking surely there are tutorials here on YouTube on how to do this, but I was loving it, so I didn't care. Because the clay was too flimsy to try to attach properly, I decided to let it dry a bit, and while it dried, I was going to create a lid for my box. Now, I've never intended for this box to close perfectly, but I did want it to have a top, especially because I was still thinking that maybe I'll use it as a manifesting box and I wanted it to hold all my dreams and desires. So I cut another circle using my glass. Of course, this circle was also smooth on one side and the other one was a disaster, so it needed to be retouched. And after that, the box that was waiting had dried a little, so I started working on those joints again. There was a lot a lot of smoothing the clay. I also was constantly measuring my lid and trying to stretch it so it would fit the box as best as it could. My cylinder is not even, of course, so it's really hard for everything to fit. Maybe if I'd watch a tutorial first, right? Where the wall had the joint, it was definitely the flimsiest part, so I added more clay on the inside to help it stick together and become thicker. And then I went back to the lid. I cut a smaller circle for it not to slide on top of the cylinder. It's just an idea I have. I don't even know if this works, but that's the idea. Because again, I'm at this point doing this to see if I could do it, and because I was loving the process so much. I have to tell you, this took a really long time, and there were parts that were frustrating, but I loved them all. Throughout, I had this feeling of satisfaction that it's hard to explain. I felt so happy as my box improved little by little, as I saw the imperfections fade away with the smoothing of my fingers and my tools. And I was always conscious of how wobbly and imperfect it was, but it just filled my heart. And I'm a creator. I paint every day, and I complete paintings all the time and sell them. This is my job, so it's weird for me to have this feeling. I've also have worked on clay before, but making this object for some reason felt so different. This is the part of the process that I really wanted to share with you, because it doesn't matter what you're going to use the trinket box for. It's the feeling of making something for yourself. Such a different feeling from what I get from completing a painting. And I've made a lot of paintings, from tiny ones to huge ones, and it's so different. And after spending a lot of time on it, smoothing, polishing, and looking at its imperfections, I was happy enough with my box to let it dry. I was so happy already by doing this that I was thinking to myself, I want to do this once a year. I would love to find time to make a lot of these for my closest friends because they feel so special, but at least I want to make one for myself yearly. Anyhow, it was time to do the decorations I wanted for the lid, and I knew I wanted a little moon on top, a crescent moon, because that's a symbol that seems really important to me this year. Have no clue why, but that's how I feel. I also wanted to make a little frog with wings. I saw an illustration somewhere of a frog with wings, and I just lost it. I needed to recreate the idea. So I modeled the frog, made a couple of wings for it, and after doing that, I also wanted to make a cloud, which I made by rolling a lot of little balls and covering them with a thin layer of clay. I think it was easier to make it this way than to model it whole, I think. At this point, I had all of my pieces and my hands were so crusty. I couldn't take it anymore, so I went ahead and washed them, and I changed the angle of my recording so you can see the pieces I sculpted a little better. From this angle, you can really tell how uneven and weird my cylinder is, but at this point, I was already in love with it, and I'm so proud of my little box. Loved its quirkiness, and I even love the uneven lid that doesn't really fit. I was so happy to finish by attaching my little pieces to it, so I scored everything, put it together with a little water, and it was finally time to let it all dry. Now, after spending so many hours on this, I thought that maybe not everyone has the time or the energy to do this, so you recognize that? Well, we all have one of these at home, I can guarantee. So I'm going to teach you how to make a really quick little box. I think this little one is a nice one to make for gifts or to hold candy in. So all you have to do is cut your toilet paper roll a little bit less than halfway through. And I thought about this idea on how to mark it today to get a straighter cut without folding it. I just propped my pencil at about the height I wanted it and then just turned my roll to draw a straight line. After I cut my roll, I have the top and the bottom of my box, but it needs caps. So all you do is glue them to a piece of cardboard, which in my case is coming from a cereal box. Once they're glued to the cardboard, you cut them out and done. Or not. Because I made a mistake and I missed a step on this most simple craft. In my defense, I was watching Mariah Elizabeth and got distracted by watching her create her new universe of characters. So yeah, what you actually have to do is cut a slit in one of the halves and glue the cylinder back together, making it a little smaller than the other part. So I took it apart, fixed it, and glued it back, so here we go. Now we have the two parts of the box, one smaller fitting in the other. With this type of box, you get to the fun really fast, and of course, by fun, I mean painting. I painted mine with light blue and a little bit of an ombre effect that you cannot really tell, but it's there. Also, a great thing is the paint dries really fast on this cardstock. Once I had it all painted blue, I thought about doing some heart-shaped clouds with my Posca, but that didn't really work, so they ended up just being regular hearts all around. I thought the box also needed a topper, so I brought out my mess-free foam clay. I quickly modeled a little bunny with it. It's just a big sphere with two little ears and an extra small sphere for its tail. Without the clay drying, I glued it to the lid with some regular white glue, and I also took my Poscas and my black micron pen and drew a face on the bunny. You can of course let the clay dry and do all of these later. Back to the other box, which only took 3 whole days to dry. I made the mistake of trying to speed the drying process by placing the cylinder face down, and the bottom became a little concave, but that's okay. Also, the frog fell from the lid, but that's okay too, because we can just glue it on. I brought back my bunny box, which of course was completely dried by this time too. It actually dried in a couple of hours. But I brought it back because the hearts look like they need a second layer of paint, so I went ahead and did that. And I also decided to add more hearts with pink to make it nicer, and I think it worked really well. So now that one's really finished. Time to paint the clay one. Yay! At this point, I had no clue on how I wanted to paint this box, so I started by painting the items on the lid because those were pretty straightforward and I could easily choose colors. When I was done, I decided I would paint the box a little like a galaxy sky, maybe to redeem myself from my poorly poured galaxy mouse. And if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and watch it later. It's fun and funny, I think. The painting of this little box took forever because I was mixing and making gradients a lot, so I'm just gonna do a little quick art montage for you and share my process. Okay, so the entire box is now painted in this gradient of purple, blue, and black. All I had to do now was fix the parts of the lid I stained with purple paint, and then I painted the wings for my little frog. Gave her a belly patch, a beautiful smile, some eyes, erased the beautiful smile, which was all wrong, gave it some froggy spots, drew the smile again, and she was done. I glued her back to the lid, and with that, I was almost there. I just wanted to add some stars to my galaxy background, and I messed up quickly and a lot. Luckily, the Posca wasn't really dry, and I was able to erase the mistakes and make it look like part of the galaxy with a wet brush. I ended up figuring out that the best way for me to do the stars and not having them look so rigid was to draw them with the Posca marker and then move the paint a bit with a wet Q-tip. I wrote the year at the bottom of my box too because I legit want to do one of these a year. Like, this is something I want to do to start every year. It felt so good. I then varnished everything, and once they were dry, this is how they look. Oh, they are super cute. I was so happy with them. I am so happy with them. I absolutely love them both, and I can't even, they're so cute. So I can't wait to see what you think about them and if my experience somehow inspired you to try making a box of your own. Let me know if you would like to see me struggle with clay again, because there's really a lot of things I want to try, but I do need the encouragement. Okay, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I'll see you next time. Have the most wonderful day. Bye.